smashed it in qualifying. He lines up on pole position for Team BMW and is joined on the front row by Takuma Miyazono for Subaru. Row 2, Sato in the Porsche. They were pretty handy in Q1 but lost time in Q2. Kawakami and Lexus, the reigning champs, line up alongside. Morimoto heads row 3 for Toyota, and Kokkoman is there for Mazda in 6th place as well. Sasaki lined up P7 for Mercedes AMG, and Gotto for Lamborghini down in P8. Can the mid-engine layout prove to be fortunate here today? Kamada lines up 9th, completing the top 10 is Okamoto for Nissan, and the grid is completed by Sugimura in the Honda NSX, and 12th position is Jun Hashima in the Ferrari 458. Now, of course, the difference in tyre strategies available for the drivers. No options for, or no rules essentially to state that they have to use both tyre compounds in the race, and interestingly there, JB, the top two have gone for the softs.
Yeah, I mean, just like another motorsport series, those soft tyres are going to be faster than those mediums. They'll be off to a good start, and the objective of going on that tyre early is to try and build a gap, try and get into clean air and use the rubber to its best possible use. Of course, championship points are available down to 6th position, so everyone are vying over those top 6 places. But watch out for Suzuki, watch out for Miyazono. They'll be fast starting, and after that it's going to be a bit of a Royal Rumble, I think.
Yep, certainly will. Looking forward to seeing how this one is going to work out. There is Sai Suzuki. Of course, he's in a bit of a disadvantage at the start of this one, despite being in pole position, because he hasn't got the hole in the air being punched in front of him, unlike all the other drivers behind. And are they going to be able to use that slipstream to their advantage once we get onto the long straight here? Well, we're ready to go. World Series 1 of Gran Turismo here in London is underway. Sai Suzuki leads the field across the line, followed by Miyazono, then Sato. So it's BMW, Subaru and Porsche down towards the first corner. Is anybody going to think about a dive into T1? I think they're a bit too far away, really, to be honest with you. What about, though, into the next series of corners? We're on a long straight now and heading into a very heavy braking zone. Is that going to leave BMW under a bit of pressure here from Subaru? Can Porsche and maybe even Lexus get themselves involved in the action? So here it is, Suzuki that leads on the soft tyres from the fellow soft shod Takuma Miyazono down into the hairpin bend. No moves at the sharp end of this field, but the rear of them looking pretty close actually into there.
Yeah, everyone actually following line of stern through there. So Suzuki, Miyazono lead the pack. Look with the gap already between Miyazono and Sato in that Porsche behind, so making use of that soft tyre for now. But as you're saying, Tom, a lot of medium speed corners here, and there is the dirty air that is thrown up by these Group 3 machines. So it's about being a little bit more, maybe a bit more careful in the corner than you'd like to be. Now Miyazono kind of hanging on for dear life here on the back on Suzuki in that BMW, using the toe to his best possible use, and he might be close enough for a go into the hairpin at the bottom here, but does he want to leave? That is the question. So on board now with Miyazono through this long twisted session, completely flat out in his Group 3 cars, and now we go towards the hairpin. Suzuki goes defensive in the BMW. Miyazono maybe looks to the inside. No, he stays there for now, and the positions remained unchanged at the front.
It's interesting there how the difference in line sort of converged back up, because of course the track bottlenecks up. Sato having a big wiggle out of the hairpin bend. That might leave them under a bit of pressure here from Lexus and Kawakami. It's not a particularly long run into sort of the next big braking zone. Well, actually, as a matter of fact, it sort of flicks right and then left, so you're going through these medium speed corners. The problem that you've got, though, in these medium speed corners when you're stuck in the wheel tracks of a driver in front is, of course, you've got dirty air going through there. You're going to be punishing those front tyres a little bit more. So the converse for Miyazono is that, of course, he has got the slipstream, which is great, but in the corners he's going to be really ruining those fronts.
Yes, Sato just hit the wall there on the exit, and it slowed him right down. Here comes Kawakami in the Lexus, the reigning champions, up into 3rd position here. It just shows you how easy it is to make a very small mistake. You touch that wall, you lose so much speed there, but of course the closer you get to it, the wider the corner is, the more speed you can carry. That is pretty much the gambit of the racing driver. Here is Kawakami, and now he's in a defensive position going down to this hairpin at the bottom. Sato looking to the inside, looking to retake that P3. He's there, he's alongside, already back up into 3rd place goes Sato, so he has no interest in staying behind Team Lexus. But of course, these guys doing that, they're going to be squabbling a little bit. That's going to give more of a space in front to Suzuki and Miyazono. They're going to love that. They're going to look in their rearview mirror and going, cool, great, keep fighting, boys. Keep going, we'll just put away in front.
Change of positions further down as well. Okamoto and Gotto have just exchanged 8th position to the advantage of the Nissan driver. So they're up then into P8. Let's see whether they can make any further forward progress. Interestingly, the soft shod runners have pulled out a gap of about 2 seconds, so they're now out of that slipstreaming range here in this part of the race, which is great news there for them. But what about Ryota Kokubun here in the Mazda? He's going to pull alongside the Lexus, coming down the straight in towards the big braking zone. So it's now Mazda versus Lexus, and it's Mazda with the advantage with the inside line, and Toyota and Morimoto are going to try and join the party. There's a bit of hip and shoulder, a bit of contact into the hairpin. That's going to send Sasaki wide and drop them down about 3 or 4 places as a result of that as well. So it's now starting to get a bit fast and a bit frantic with these medium shot runners, as we still sit side by side now here between Morimoto and Kokubun for 4th place.
It's Kawakami there in that Lexus, and it will get a little bit rowdy now, Tom, as you say. There is running really one line through these corners here due to the cameras on the circuit. So as soon as you start going 2 by 2, you just end up having usually inevitable contact. We're on board now with Hiroshi Okimoto for Nissan. Great seat here of the fight ahead of us. Lamborghini in front in P7, almost pushing that thing along in our glorious turbo brick as we go down to T1 one more time. Really fast left hand, this one. You want to use all the roads here. Watch out for that barrier on the right hand side. I think there may be a little bit of contact with the wall there from Morimoto, but still able to hold the position for now as we come down to the hairpin for the 3rd time.
So Kokubun then in the wheel tracks here of the Toyota. In the background there, you've got Mazda looking like they're trying to put a bit of pressure, but also behind as well, you've got Goto versus Okamoto part 3. Now Okamoto gets the better of the Lamborghini driver through into that hairpin once more. The gap at the front still continues to build. They're just running their own race here at the moment and have pulled out an advantage of about 2.5 seconds or so over Sato on the medium compound of tyres. Let's have another look at what happened then down into the hairpin bend. This is what cost AMG some track position. They're going to get biffed here, I think, by Okamoto first of all, and Goto then was on his inside as well. So that just lost them 2 places and possibly a 3rd, just able to get the better of them on the exit of the corner.
You guys watching the Spanish Grand Prix run? It's good effort, good move, strong move. But meanwhile, front of the grid, Miyazono had actually pulled back on to the rear spoiler of Suzuki in front. So there is pace there in that BRZ. I was giving it grief here at the start of the show, but actually it's looking pretty quick, and he's just doing what he needs to do, just holding on to that slipstream, just sitting there. And what sort of trivia is that? Listen to the song Philosophy by Alexandros, right? What?
I've never heard of the song, so I can't really pass comment on it, to be honest.
Go check it out.
If it works for him, it's a Japanese pop song, as we understand it. So if it works for him, great news, because he's sitting in 2nd place at the moment, and he seems like he's in the groove at the moment. Go and have a listen to that after the race, obviously, and let us know what your thoughts are on it. Meanwhile, Kawakami here defends from Morimoto. Across the start-finish line we go. Morimoto with the inside line and track position. Kawakami possibly about to come under threat here from Kokubun as well, but 4th place does change hands to the advantage of the Toyota. Morimoto is now in front, and they're starting to fall off the coattails of Sato in the Porsche here as well. They're about a second or so away, so they need to be careful about how they start battling here.
Speaking of battling, Kawakami is very keen to get that 4th place. Here comes Kokubun as well in the Mazda, looking to almost push that Lexus through the gap. So, well, if you're not going to go for it, I will, but they all stay one at a time for now. And of course, not much you can really do outside of a slipstream round here. It's a one-at-a-time circuit. There are a couple of places to overtake, but right now it is just follow the leader. And with 4 laps in, the soft tyres seemingly still have the pace advantage over the mediums, but that will switch as the race goes on. So right now, if it's Suzuki, if you're Miyazono in front, you're trying to build that gap. You're trying to make the gap as big as possible, so to prepare for that inevitable tyre fall-off. The medium runners, though, we think they can go upwards of 13 laps before switching to that soft tyre. So it's about making this tyre last, but also by keep pressuring those soft runners, because that tyre will burn out quickly.
Well, you wonder what the soft tyre runners are going to do with Suzuki and Miyazono. Are they going to go for that 2-stop strategy here in this race as Kokubun looks to the inside of Kawakami? And here's Morimoto there as well. There's more contact behind with Kawakami, then subsequently getting into the back of Kokubun. That's allowed the door to be open for Okamoto in the Nissan, who now drags alongside the Lexus, and ready to join into the party is Yusuke Goto in the Lamborghini coming through into the right-hander here as well. So we'd all got a bit frantic there for just a few moments. The upshot is that it's cost Lexus positions here.
How tight this race is. You've got P4 all the way down to, well, last, and then just separated by about 2 seconds, all of them there on a similar piece of tarmac. Kawakami has lost a few places now, down 2 places from his qualifying place, but conversely behind him, Okamoto up 3 in the Nissan. He's the biggest mover so far, so watch out for him. He is on a charge.
So, under investigation then is Kokubun versus Morimoto. We saw that collision a few moments ago. Let's see what the stewards decide on that one. Meanwhile, you've got the Porsche there, just sitting in third position. The gap is still stabilised at about a second or so between themselves and Morimoto in the Toyota. Meanwhile, you've got Kokubun versus Kawakami, who's on the outside there. You've got to be so careful with this one, though, because they are so close on circuit. You open the doors to take a wider line, and then that possibly means that someone can walk through it from behind, and it compromises your entire run down the next straight.
Yeah, it's, you have to be careful here. So interestingly, look at the tyre wear there on those front tyres of Suzuki compared to Miyazono. You'd kind of think maybe that Miyazono would be worse given he's sitting in that dirty air, but I think that car is just a bit lighter and the weight of the BMW really showing there on those front tyres. So that could be the difference. Going up and down the field though, I think the best on their tyres so far is Kawakami in 6th place, but doesn't mean much if you're stuck there.
No, you've got to try and make the progression through. Maybe just playing the longer game here in this one and waiting for the right time to strike. Kokubun goes to the defensive line into the hairpin bend. It all bottlenecks up, and Okamoto once again gets into the back of Kawakami, and a bit of hip and shoulder there from Kamada in the McLaren as well. Someone is going to be more disappointed than Arusa, who's had their tonsils out after this race. I'm fairly sure of it, because they are so close to one another out on this circuit that you can just sense the fact that it is starting to bubble up. We're only on lap 5 as again the McLaren of Kamada looks at the inside of Hashima there.
It's not really a move there to be made, just sort of sticking there and their nose alongside the rear wheel, and you're never going to get through there. You're just going to cause a little bit of contact, but yeah, really getting a little bit desperate now, because if you're stuck at the back of the straight, there's not really much you can do apart from try and push the guy in front of you on a little bit. Now, you might be wondering, well, why are these guys bump drafting? They'll definitely catch up if they did that. That is actually against the rules here in the GT live events here. You get 1 point for bump drafting, and then you get a big fat penalty. So that's why those guys are not pushing each other along.
Yeah, they're just taking it fairly easy at the sharp end of this race. We get into lap 6 now, which is when we're expecting the soft tyres to start going off. Don't forget as well, in the viewers campaign, if you watch directly on Gran Turismo 7, you can receive a gift card for every show that is watched. Jun Hashima looks to the inside of Goto for 8th place rather in this one, and gets the move done in the Ferrari, so now moves up into 8th position. Meanwhile, there are your top 2, Suzuki in the BMW and Miyazono in the Subaru. Interestingly, Suzuki's front tyres are a fair bit more worn than Miyazono's. Yeah,
about another half a lap or so's worth of wear there on Suzuki's side, maybe a lap on Miyazono, but the rear tyres not quite as balanced. But what that says to me is that Miyazono, if he can keep this up, might get 1 more lap out of those soft tyres. And those soft tyres, they do tend to be pretty quick right until the end of their life. So that could be the difference here. But the gap now between Miyazono and Sato, I mean, we're getting up to about 4 seconds now, 4.4 on the last time of checking there. So they are doing the job here, making that gap, but I think it could have been bigger. I don't think that's exactly it. They haven't made the most of it, the guys in the front.
Morimoto here looking against Sato as well. The gap was up to a second about 3 or 4 laps or so ago. It has now come right down, and Morimoto is bringing a train of cars along with him, which might leave Sato under a bit of pressure here. And will that mean that they're able to find their way through and present an opportunity for that final podium place? It's only the early stages of the race. There's no point getting too excited about things at the moment. Still plenty of time for the complexion of this one to change. But we come along the start-finish straight. Sato keeping the car very firmly on the left-hand side of the circuit. They're going to go for a defensive line down to T1. They move over to the normal racing line, but you can see the closing speed there with this Toyota, and subsequently how much quicker they're able to go through into turn 1. They have to back right off of the pace, even though they've got more of an advantage, a bit more grip underneath them, courtesy of some fresher tyres then here as well. And you sense that it's starting to bubble up here for this podium place, and Sato knows that. Goes for the defensive line. Morimoto goes for the outside into the hairpin. Can they invent something into the braking zone? Morimoto on the outside, and now through into third.
It's that Toyota now starting to come strong in the second part of the race, maybe just a little bit better on those worn tyres than the cars around it. Again, reminder of our tyre strategies there. We think that these soft tyres, this is going to be their last lap, although I'm thinking about it. I think Miyazono could definitely do 1 more. I'm not sure about Suzuki though. The gap has come down slightly now between P2 and P3, so those medium tyres are starting to be quicker than the softs. Now, the question is, has Miyazono, has Suzuki, have they noticed that? Are they going to box this lap? So the pit lane is just in this hairpin here. Suzuki leading the soft runners down towards there. Miyazono in P2, who we ride on board with now. Do they peel to the left-hand side of the circuit? They do. Both of them into the pit lane there, switching over to that medium compounder tyre. They've decided they can't do any more, and Suzuki and Miyazono both pit together.
What they now need is a nice bit of clear air to run along with each other in this race. Pit loss time about 11 seconds or so, plus the time that you are stopped for, which, as you can see, is fairly minimal. Where are they going to emerge back into this race, and how much is the distance in terms of seconds going to be between Sasaki and Suzuki? Meanwhile, the sharp end of this one, now the battle for the effective race lead is starting to get a bit scrappy. Sato has gotten back in front of Toyota. Meanwhile, Suzuki and Miyazono, they've got about 6 seconds or so to Sasaki. That's a good buffer for them. They can just run their own race, carry on doing their own strategy, and not worry about being caught up in other people's dramas.
Well, this is the important part of the race now for Suzuki and Miyazono. You need to really push now and make the most of that clear air in front, as Tom says. So Sato, conversely, in the same sort of position. These next few laps, they need to make sure they are not fighting so much and just trying to get that lap time in, because they, the guy directly behind is not the threat for the win. It is the two cars, 11th and 12th place.
And the converse to that, of course, is that could also happen to the likes of Morimoto, Sato, Kokeman, etc. They're obviously on a different strategy on the medium tyres. In theory, they'll be quicker at the end of the race if indeed they do go on to soft tyres, which is what we're expecting them to do. So, but the problem is, if they start fighting amongst one another, start squabbling, that's going to cost them time. And if it costs them a second, half a second or so, that can be the difference between challenging for the victory and battling for the lowly podium places.
Well, we're going to find out in about 5 laps time when these guys come in and bolt on a set of those soft tyres. So it does seem that the strategy is that one stop, and it is make the mediums go as long as possible and then get on those soft tyres. So a reminder, the points awarded here for the top 6 cars, of course, 6 down to 1 from 1st to 6th position, and that will count, of course, towards the final all the way in Fukuoka at the end of the year. So score points early, push in a good place for the rest of the year.
So on board here then with Jun Hashima in the Ferrari. We know that car's pretty handy. We've seen good pace from it over the course of last season with Medina, who took a victory in World Series 2 back in Prague. Meanwhile, let's have a look at some dramas then here between Miyazono and Suzuki. So this is coming down into the hairpin after the first corner, and you see Miyazono getting the inside, getting track position there against Suzuki. The positions, though, yeah, they still sit differently there. So Miyazono is now back in front.
So interesting, that's Miyazono basically making a move for the lead of this race. He's decided he doesn't want to sit behind Suzuki anymore. He wants to push hard on this medium compounder tyre. He's already made a gap of about half a second there. So maybe we're going to now see the real pace of Miyazono in that Subaru. Well, what was the good thing about Miyazono's car in that first strategy? The tyres. It went, you know, what, 4 or 5% higher than Suzuki's. And he was in dirty air over the course of that first stint, so maybe he now wants to run in clear air, save those tyres even more, and maybe the fact that that car is being pretty kind to the rubber that's on the bottom of it will prove to be a benefit for them later on in the race. Meanwhile, we look at the battle for the race lead as it sits for now. Morimoto still defends. Sato's looking for the inside line. Kokeman's getting involved as well as Kawakami. Kawakami's on the inside then for 3rd position against Kokeman. Sato there looking to pick the pocket of the Toyota as well, but nothing doing. So Kawakami was the only beneficiary despite a lot of action kicking off into there. No, it's interesting. Behind this, it's only a 4.5 second gap until we have Miyazono and Suzuki. They're not too far behind this little train, so really showing the pace of that new medium tyre compared to the old right now, as Morimoto leads into the tunnel from Sato from Kawakami. The snake of cars echoing through the tunnel here on the Tokyo Expressway, coming down to the hairpin one last time. 9 laps down, 20 to go. Morimoto really trying to bend into this hairpin. I'm always just let Sato have it. These guys need to maybe start working a bit more intelligently together if they want any hope of taking the win here today. Kawakami, big lunge around the outside. Is he going into the pits?
Yeah, he's got to. He can't overshoot it that much.
Say, what a move if he's making that work.
Yeah, straight to the pits there for Kawakami. Now, interestingly, where's he going to go? in terms of strategy. Medium tyres, about a second or so slower, and he's gone for another medium set of tyres. So he's going for the medium strategy then, presumably for the end of this. I'm hoping that the longevity of that compound of tyre will prove to pay dividends later on in the race. And what's the thing you need in pit lane? After pit lane rather, you need clear air. So he needs to come out without any dramas. No traffic behind him is the crucial thing there for Kanata Kawakami as he emerges back into this race. He's about 5 seconds or so off the back of Suzuki. Again, worked out quite nicely for them here, and he'll have decent enough rubber to the end of this one.
Just have to wonder if that's the play or not. Like, it's a tricky one because we know how fast that soft tyre is, but we're seeing the tyre life here on our screens, and a lot of the guys are struggling. And if they want to make that soft tyre work, which is about 7 laps and maximum on that, Sato, for example, who has pretty much no rear tyres left compared to the guys around him, needs to make those tyres last another 3 laps.
Well, just to give you an idea of the difference in pace between worn mediums and new mediums. New mediums for Miyazono and Suzuki, they're in the sort of mid 1 minute 57s. The drivers that are all on the medium tyres that haven't pitted yet at the sharp end of this race that you're looking at, they're all sort of in the early to mid 1 minute 58, so they're about 8-9 tenths of a second slower at this point.
Maybe Kawakami saw this. He thought, okay, right, I can see that I'm stuck in this train. I can't do anything else. If I pit for softs with everybody else, I'm going to still be stuck in this train. I might as well try something different and end up boxing those medium tyres. And we'll just keep an eye on that because we'll see if anyone else blinks. Now will be the time to do it at the end of this lap. Coming again for that medium set. Will Kawakami get an undercut? We will see. Morimoto still leading this train of the non-stoppers so far in Team Toyota. That car still strong here in 2025.
Sato's the one you need to worry about because he's got lower tyres compared to everybody else around him. Kokubun, incidentally, in the Mazda, looking pretty handy there with 45%. Now Sato's into the pits in the Porsche at the end of lap 10 then. So how is this going to work out? What's the gap going to be relative to Kanata Kawakami? Sasaki and Sugimura also following him into the pit lane there as well.
Look at the gap. There's Miyazono, there's Kawakami, and they just swan off into the lead. Massive lead for those guys. They have played the right thing for now. Kawakami there just about getting by Sato, so he pitted 1 lap earlier. Tyres are fired up, already up a temperature, and by Sato he goes. So maybe that was the right call there for Kawakami.
Well, the undercuts work. The problem is now that he, of course, has worn his tyres a little bit more because he's done 1 more lap. So will they come to bite him in the backside in the closing stage of the race? He's, enjoying the fruits of his labour as it sits for now, but let's see what it looks like in 8.5 laps time. Meanwhile, the sharp end of this one, the top 6 drivers have not yet pitted. That's Toyota with Morimoto, Kokubun with Mazda, Okamoto with Nissan, Hashima with Ferrari, Goto with the Lamborghini, Kamada with the McLaren, and Miyazono, of course, is the first of the drivers that has now pitted. So 6 drivers yet to box. Will they come in at the end of this lap? Let's wait and see.
We will, as these guys still squabbling, although they have calmed down somewhat now. I think they understand that they do need to just push and try and lose as little time as possible. Let's look at the background. You see there in the background Kawakami and Sato, but here is Suzuki and Miyazono, both looking very quick right now, and importantly only 4.8 seconds now behind Kamada in the McLaren, who's yet to stop. So these guys are going to jump everyone when they box, but they are going to be on that older tyre at the end. But track position is important around here.
That's the problem, isn't it? You've got to find that balance between using track position and also wearing your tyres out. They've got a 5-second buffer over Kawakami, which is great for them right now, but is it going to leave them vulnerable at the end of the race? Let's wait and see what happens though as we come down in towards the pit area. Does anybody dive into the pits? Morimoto there on the outside as Kokubun goes over to take the lead. We know that Mazda has been pretty kind on its tyres so far in this race, and they still sit side by side on the exit of the corner. So the RX Group 3 car then now moves ahead of the Toyota Gazoo Racing GT concept. So it's Mazda who hit the front for the first time in 2025 now.
Here they are. Kokubun, of course, a bit of a veteran from these series. There you go. Started playing when he was 3 years old. This is why he's so much better than I am.
3 years old, I was still trying to play the PlayStation, and my sister was putting the controller underneath so that I wasn't getting in the way of her playing the PlayStation.
Oh, giving you the unplugged controller.
Absolutely.
Classic.
That was it. I know.
I do that now. I do that with you still now.
You wait till Guy gets a bit older, mate. He's going to love that one. So Kokubun it is that leads at the start of lap 12 then. Morimoto in second. You can see these drivers have now started to pick up the pace. It's interesting actually because they were in the mid 1 minute 58s at once upon a time when they were squabbling amongst one another. They've now picked up the pace to sort of the low 1 minute 58s, some even in the higher 1:57. Kokubun was a 56.6 last time around, which was pretty handy. Not quite as quick as we've seen from some of the medium shop runners who are on fresher tyres at this stage, but given the fact that they're 12 laps old, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can see though the gap between Kamada and Suzuki, very, very close right now. As Paul Euro looking on at his teammate for Team Mazda. Of course, he will be in the car at one of our other events representing them. Berlin, yes, he'll be in there for them. Just hoping that he gets off to a good start here this year for Team Mazda. So here are the tyres as they stand. Now these guys now, they're all going for the soft. There's no doubt about that. They're trying to make the 13 laps work on the medium compound tyre. Morimoto in the background looking to try and get back past Kokubun, kind of working together there, giving each other the slingshot without bump drafting and just putting themselves along a bit quicker than the rest of the group.
Now we're coming towards the end of what we thought was going to be a useful window, and indeed the top two are coming in at the end of lap 12 then, and they're also being followed in by another driver as well. So Gotto is into the box there. So now it's only 3 drivers that are yet to pit in this race. So a lap earlier than we're expecting the ultimate race distance to be, but it's interesting there, the drivers that started on the medium tyres now going onto the soft compound. So the real outlier here is Kawakami, who of course went medium in this race. Is that going to prove to be to his benefit later on when those soft tyres are, I imagine, going to be pretty clapped out?
Yeah, so well, I didn't notice that Suzuki did get back by Miyazano at some point, so they're 56.6 on the last lap. These guys are flying at the moment. You can see there are Suzuki and Miyazano in relation to those who have not stopped yet. So using that fresher medium tyre, they've been able to catch back up onto the pack in front of them, but now they're going to be in the converse position where their tyres are going to be a little bit warm, and they're going to be chased down by the guys who are now on those soft tyres. Morimoto, Kokubun and Goto on there as well. They'll be joined very shortly, I'm sure, by Okamoto Hashima and Kamada.
Well, you get the sense that this race is going to start bubbling up towards the end of this one. Let's have a look at how Suzuki got back in front of Miyazono through these fast left-handers, and that was a beautiful bit of slits there in the BMW. Switched to the inside line, got through, and is now ahead of the Subaru for what we effectively think is going to be the race lead. You can see they've ascended up to 4th position, and they are lurking there in the background from the top 3, who of course are still owing that one final pit stop in this race.
So here we are into the tunnel again. Now I have no doubt we're going to see the top 3 now peeling into the pit lane left hand side on the way into the hairpin here. That will release of course Suzuki and Miyazono back up into 1st and 2nd place, but can they stay there? Sato behind there on a fresher medium compound tyre, Kawakami as well in the same strategy. Then behind them it's the soft runners. Those, they're going to be very, very fast into the race. Do they have enough time to chase down the leaders? Well, stay tuned and find out.
So into the box come the top 3 then. So all pit stops now beginning to work out. Keep an eye out though for Kokubun, Morimoto and Gotto. They're on the soft tyres. We reckon they could go about 8 or 9 laps or so in this one. So are they going to be able to be a threat and close down on the medium shop runners in the end of this race? They're only about 2 seconds off the back of the likes of Sato and Kawakami, who've gone medium in terms of the tyre strategy. So they might be able to challenge for the podium. The overall race window is a further 5 seconds up the road from that one. So I think it's going to be a bit of a tall order, but if these two start squabbling, and indeed maybe they come to blows, then the door is wide open.
Yeah, I mean, Kawakami's tyres aren't even that much fresher than, I mean, it's a couple of laps of Miyazono and Suzuki, so I think that might not have been the play there for Team Lexus. I mean, we'll see how it goes. We've still got a few laps left of this one, but the strategy's yet to unfold. So here's Goto now with Morimoto. These guys just boxed for those soft tyres, so they're going to be fast now. I think realistically for their minimum lap time, 56s. They need to be in those 56s if they have any hope now of catching the cars in front, which means working together and not trying to lunge each other every corner. But if you're going to right now in the Lamborghini and you think, oh, maybe I'm a bit quicker, how do you resist that?
So Kenta Morimoto then behind the wheel of the Toyota, coming under pressure here from the Lamborghini into the hairpin we go. It's an interesting corner that, because it's sort of 2 corners in one effectively. You've got to really time your line quite nicely because it's a fast jink to the left following this one. You sort of have to get out of the throttle and then back on it. Lining astern are these top 3, or I'd say top 3 in this sort of soft shod battle at the moment. And are they going to start working together? Because the problem is if they start squabbling and then destroying their tyres amongst one another, then that's going to compromise their race, possibly cost them an opportunity of the podium, maybe even the overall victory, depending on how this one plays out.
Yep, we still need to wait and see how that's going to happen. We're watching Kokubun here. 55.9 was his last lap, so that is the fastest lap of the race. Kokubun and Team Mazda are on a charge now. In front is Sato, who opted for the double medium strategy. He is going to be nowhere. Kawakami there as well, and they're already being caught by the soft runners. So I think the double medium strategy, Tom, was not the way to go, and we're now seeing that in action as Kokubun leading two other soft runners right onto the back of third and fourth place.
Well, unless those tyres fall off a cliff at the end of this race, the soft shop runners of Kokubun, Morimoto, Goto, etc., then you would imagine, like you say, that they are not going to be able to keep hold of that podium. On board we ride here with Kokubun in P5.
What's important now, though, for Kokubun is to get by these guys as quick as possible. He cannot afford to be stuck here. On board then with the Mazda R8 Vision GT concept stealth model, longest name I think in GT7 there, that glorious rotary engine. As we come through this left hand, you can see how much quicker those soft tyres are. Now Kokubun is just about going to be getting the faintest sniff now on a slipstream. That'll make him a bit quicker down the straight. Will he get him close enough though for a move down to the bottom? I don't think so, but I think it's only a matter of time before we see Kokubun making the move for Kawakami and Sato.
Yeah, what Kokubun would really benefit from here, as well as Morimoto and Goto behind, is those two in front to start squabbling amongst one another. You can see Sato a little bit wide going through that hairpin there as he eases onto the throttle here. Does Kokubun sort of takes a couple of stabs at it as he tries to get optimum traction on the exit of this one, and as you said, he needs to get his way past Morimoto and Goto likewise there as well. So if you're Kawakami and if you're Sato, it's sort of squeaky bum time really here at the moment, because you know that you're going to be coming under pressure. The sharp end of this race, what Kokubun would really benefit from is if Suzuki and Miyazono start getting involved in their own squabble here as we look back for this battle for third place.
This is going to be decisive here for Kokubun. We go for a move down to the hairpin. He needs to. He's got the toe. He's got Morimoto and Goto behind him as well, all looking to try and make the move. Sato goes defensive to the inside. It's now too wide. Where will Kokubun go? Nowhere to go there. So Sato blocking the inside, then Kawakami also the outside. Kokubun pushing his way through there up into P4, but Kawakami now really is a bit of a sitting duck here, Tom.
Yeah, bottlenecks up there as well. Goto trying to get involved in the act as well. He's just trying to show a wheel on the inside as well as Morimoto. So through to the right hand and we go. Kokubun on the inside, Kawakami on the outside. Soft versus medium. Soft is going to reign supreme then here, and is Kawakami going to lose maybe another position, possibly to Goto, and indeed then also to Morimoto as well. So 3 places lost in the space of as many corners. Next target for Kokubun, Goto and Morimoto is going to be Sato in the Porsche. Across the timing line we go, down into T1. The Porsche driver of Sato knows that, takes a defensive line through there, and now we know that the soft tyre has got a greater amount of grip underneath, and surely it's going to be into the hairpin bend where they're going to think about a lunge.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do there. The idea is just try and get a good setup now down to the hairpin, use the toe, and Sato, I mean, valiantly defended, but you can't help but think it's all going to be for nothing as we now go down towards the hairpin. Kokubun looking to the outside of Sato, goes defensive in the Porsche. Will he be able to outbrake the Mazda on the outside? He tries to. He's still alongside the Porsche, fighting for dear life at P3. Keeps the pace for now, but on the inside there, who is that?
That's Goto. That was Goto on the inside with a massive send. The door was sort of half open there, and now it's Sato versus Goto, side by side on the exit of the corner. This is getting fast and frantic. Goto with the inside line against Sato, again soft versus medium. Now it's the Lamborghini driver that's up through and into the podium places. Sato almost faces the wall on the outside. Morimoto picks his pocket into the Toyota, and now also Kokubun ready to join in on the action.
Yeah, great defensive effort there from Sato, but short-lived, cannot defend against that medium tyre. Contact to the tunnel. Is there going to be a crash? No, Goto in the wall there slows him right down. Kokubun back up into P4 now, leading the straight. Sorry, Morimoto in the Toyota there is now as well. These guys all fighting furiously for that last podium place. Sato in the wall. He's round. He's round. Sato there in the wall, and there goes Porsche's effort for any position here in round 1 of the grand final.
Well, we said it was going to bubble up, and so it proved to be exactly what we didn't want to see happening in the Gran Turismo World Series. And unfortunately there was a lot of fast and frantic action going on in the space of a handful of corners, and unfortunately that many drivers into that position just doesn't go. The upshot is it is Porsche and Sato that have been the big losers in that one, and they are now going to be going home pointless. Points only down to 6th place here, just to remind you. The upshot is, whilst this battle's been going on here, Jimmy, it's allowed that nice bit of clear air for Suzuki and the BMW, Miyazono air for Suzuki and the BMW, Miyazono in the Subaru, to just have enough of a buffer to not worry about what's going on behind.
Let's take a peek at what happened then. So on board Kawakami, Sato goes to the inside, a lot of moving there from a lot of people. Just a little bit of contact on the back. Oh, Kawakami there caused that. Yeah, I don't think it was on purpose at all, but unfortunately it doesn't really matter. He's the one that caused that contact there, so I do think we're probably going to see a penalty for Kawakami at some point. Meanwhile, they're still fighting, Tom. They're still fighting for that third place. I think they all know now they can't catch Suzuki and Miyazono, so you might as well just have this last position. But of course, the investigation, the result of that might change this race entirely.
Yeah, Kawakami not giving this one up. He's on the medium tyres, but his tyre wear relative to those around him, pretty similar on the soft tyres. And of course, we know that medium is slower over the course of a lap. So this is some great driving from Kawakami in terms of the lap time and keeping hold of track position. But of course, we know that incident between himself and Sato is now under investigation. Meanwhile, the sharp end of this race, we've not mentioned it too much over the last few laps. They're still only 0.3 of a second away from one another. And this is going to start to get pretty frisky, isn't it, at the sharp end of this one?
You get the impression maybe Miyazono is waiting, and Kanata Kawakami, as we expected, given a 3-second penalty there for his part in the incident with Team Porsche and Sato. I mean, again, not intentional, but just because you don't mean something doesn't mean it isn't your fault. And unfortunately for Kawakami, that 3-second penalty is going to take him way outside the points there. As you can see, points awarded first, down to 6th position. What I can tell you now is Kawakami won't be having any of those.
That is a big shame there for Team Lexus, and not the way they'll have wanted to kick off their title defence in the Manufacturers' Cup. So now, what does it look like for the final podium places? Well, Morimoto still right on the coattails of Ryota Kokubun in the Mazda at the moment. We're right on board with Yasuki Goto, who was up as high as third a few moments ago, but has sort of lost out, really, as it were. Now he's got a face full of Lexus as we come across the timing line, and there is the penalty being served for Kawakami, who drops back down to, what, 9th position now, so that's really proven to be quite detrimental to the reigning Manufacturers' Cup champions here.
That feeling just sucks as well, because you get to the line, you have to slow down for 3 seconds, then get back up to speed. So 3 seconds is more like 5 or 6. You really get hammered for that. So yeah, unfortunate for them, but of course the fight still rages on at the front of the field for P3. It's Mazda versus Toyota. These guys have been rivals in the Manufacturers' Cup for about as long as I can remember it, and still going on here. Goto in the background in that Lamborghini. It's a good run for Lamborghini, to be fair. But we haven't seen Lambo at the sharp end of one of these events for quite some time. So to see him in P5 there challenging what could possibly be for a podium is really impressive there for the Italian brand.
Yeah, I wonder if the balance of performance update for this season has just helped them a little bit in terms of closing that deficit down, because as you say, we haven't seen Lamborghini up the sharp end of the field for, as you say, a fair amount of time. So we'll see how it goes over the course of the remaining World Series events in 2025. Meanwhile, we look here at Kokubun with Morimoto again still very close behind. 2.5 laps now to go. We go from day into night and into the daylight indeed here as well, as Kokubun again takes that defensive line. Morimoto goes for the outside line, the sharp end of the field. The lead of the race is changing hands here between Miyazono and Suzuki as well. Now it's the Subaru driver that's just gotten in front from what we can see on our timing screens, as third place is now occupied by the Mazda. We need to look at the battle though for the race lead, because it's all well and good looking at this battle for the final podium places, but the two of Miyazono and Zaya Suzuki are getting pretty frantic here then. We thought this was going to start to kick off, and lap 18 is where the battle begins.
Yeah, I was watching the live timing, Tom. I saw Miyazono got Suzuki just down into the hairpin there, and Suzuki, using the power of the BMW, was able to pull back through. But now Miyazono making his move. 2 laps to go here then at the grand final, round 1 here at London for the Manufacturers' Cup. It's Team Subaru leading Team Manufacturers' Cup. It's Team Subaru leading Team BMW at the moment. Meanwhile, the fight's still going on for 3rd, 4th and 5th, and here is that move for the lead here. So Miyazono there using the toe up the inside in the Subaru. Very nice and tidy through there, just about making that move stick. And then I think he lost the drag race up here a little bit, but had the right line into rest of the course and managed to maintain 1st position.
Yeah, it worked quite nicely there for Takuma Miyazono. Sort of lunged his way to the inside. The door was kind of half open, but he decided to open it fully, going through into that corner and force Suzuki for a wider line to compromise his compatriot's exit going through there. And now we look at the sharp end as the headlights glimmer in the nighttime here at the Tokyo Expressway. It's Subaru versus BMW for the race victory then here. 0.3 of a second in it, and a lap and a half left to remain for this one. It's too close to call. You have to say the BMW faster in a straight line, but the Subaru definitely quicker in the twisty bits.
You've got to think about it here. It's a high speed game of chess. Suzuki there shows his hand. Up into first place goes Team BMW. Is that where Miyazono wants to be though? Because on the next lap, the final lap, he'll have the toe down to the hairpin. But Suzuki is not thinking about that right now. Miyazono looking to the inside. Will he ever go here? Yeah, showing his nose there, going for a very late move on Suzuki. They're just trying to unsettle him on exit now as the sun goes down. We go in tonight, and Miyazono now starting to move around on that medium compound of tyres. So that medium compound starting to get now to the end of its useful life, but these guys still pushing onwards. 3-second gap behind the Morimoto in the Toyota as we come onto the last lap here at Tokyo.
So winner takes all stakes, and of course points available for the top 6 drivers here in this one as well. Who is going to be taking the maximum crown though? And Suzuki was just into the wall on the outside there as we head across the timing line to begin the final lap. It's BMW versus Subaru. It's Suzuki versus Miyazono as we head down into turn 1 for the final time.
Here we go then, a little bit of contact there of Suzuki on the way through. Have to be millimetrically perfect through here to get the best line. And Miyazono now in a great position for a move down into the bottom of the course. But do you go for that if you're Miyazono? Do you just wait and be patient and take the move to the hairpin? Let's wait and see. Miyazono deep in the slipstream, goes to the outside then, coming down to this first hairpin. Going to get squeezed out, I think, by Suzuki. Looks to try and go back inside, but as Suzuki might have outbraked himself here. Will Miyazono get the cut back? Not quite for now.
Suzuki's got that line covered there quite nicely, hasn't he? It's going to be all about the traction, the exit out of this corner and the run through into the next series of them then. So we ride on board with Takuma Miyazono battling for the victory and trying to get maximum points for Subaru to try and take that crown back in the Manufacturers' Cup in 2025. And now we know that Miyazono pretty handy in the slipstream and diving his way to the inside. He's going to have to think about this one quite carefully then here. Use that strength of the Subaru in the last stages of this race.
Here we are then in the toe. Miyazono quite far back though. It's going to be quite a big lunge there for Takuma. So Suzuki in front. Miyazono on board looking to try and displace them. Coming down to the hairpin now, deep in the toe. 272 kilometres an hour. Suzuki goes defensive. Miyazono goes all the way to the outside. Can he try and get a putt? He does! Plays him like a fiddle. Up into first place goes Takuma Miyazono. Masterful move there from the multiple champion. Up into lead he goes with only a few corners to go.
There is no adage for experience in the Gran Turismo World Series, and so it proves to be for Takuma Miyazono. Sasaki and Kawakami are under investigation in the closing stages of this race, but that was absolutely brilliant from Takuma Miyazono. Just a handful of corners now remaining. Can Suzuki invent something? I think he's a bit too far away unless you can think about a lunge to the inside, but it is then going to be maximum points in Gran Turismo World Series 1 here in London for Team Subaru and for Takuma Miyazono, who win the grand final. What a fantastic end to that race. Suzuki and BMW come over the line in second. It's Kokeman for Mazda on the podium in third place. Morimoto for Toyota, Okamoto for Nissan, and then Kamada